You are listening to BSSN Wrestling with your hosts, Blake Wright.
We are prepared for war.
And Brian Armon.
What's my name?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another edition of BSSN Wrestling. My name is Blake Wright, and joining me today is Brian Armon. Brian, how's it going, man?
I'm doing wonderful, Blake. Glad that I get to check in with you today because we had an interesting little Periscope thing going on the other night.
Yeah, and I'm still recovering. Like, my brain is still in shock about it. So, pretty much what Brian is referring to is there was a cam girl that got on my Periscope account and tried recruiting me to become a cam guy. And pretty much what that means is that a cam girl or cam guy is pretty much an online stripper. And yeah, so she was really trying to recruit that for me. Like, Brian, do you think I have what it takes to be a cam guy?
Well, man, we got to the perfect name, Vanilla Chai. You know, every girl likes their Vanilla Chai, but you know what? At the end of the day, man, I know that's not where you want to go. So.
No, it's like, damn it, I'm a podcaster, you know what I mean? And I'm not going to take off my underwear just to keep my damn ankles warm. Like, I am a podcaster, and I hope people got that joke. If not, shame on you. Like, just think a little bit harder and rewind that past 10 seconds, and then maybe you'll get that one. But no, man, but other than that, you know, other than getting, you know, recruited to try to be a stripper and all that, like, pretty much I've been pretty good. Like, BSSN's looking good. Like, we got some people to buy some merchandise. Shout out to Antoine, Marcus, and Brett. They all, you know, are in the process of buying some merchandise. So that's greatly appreciated. And if you're interested in buying some merchandise, just hit me up on Twitter. I'll send you some pics. We got some beanies, we got some hats, we got some hoodies, and we got t-shirts, and we'll throw in a rubber bracelet for any order over $30. So if you want a free BSSN bracelet, all you got to do is that. So be sure to pick up your BSSN merch. And I don't have set in stone prices pretty much. It's completely negotiable. I want to make you get some BSSN gear at an affordable price for you. So be sure to check that out. And then also, we are literally 24 hours away from our big interview with Teddy Long. That will actually come out late Thursday night, early Friday morning. And if you have any questions for him, I will be doing a little fan mail. Be sure to DM me your questions for Teddy Long. And in the future, we got Jake the Snake Roberts and the Boogeyman appearing in the next 2 weeks. So some big things for BSSN. So today's episode will not be about my possible stripper career. It will be about the WWE Raw results. You know, it was a pretty good episode. It was held in New Orleans, Louisiana. The crowd kind of sucked at the beginning, but the crowd, you know, they eventually got good. We got to see Brock Lesnar return. We got to see Kalisto slowly but surely become a star. And it was a pretty damn good episode, if you ask me. I ran a poll on Twitter, and no one gave it below a grade of a C, which, you know, that's pretty good. But anyways, we're going to be doing the Raw results like usual. We're going to be doing it in chronological order. So the show opened up with the WWE roster gathered at the top of the entrance ramp as Vince and Stephanie McMahon made their way down to the ring to kick off the show, which was really, really awkward, by the way, Brian. Like, how did you feel about Stephanie McMahon and Vince McMahon, like, linking arms and Stephanie's terrible impersonation of her father's walk? Like, was I the only one that saw how awkward that really was?
Oh, no, man, that was classic. They link arms, they part ways through the sea of superstars that's on the top of the ramps, and she's trying to do Vince McMahon's already silly, I'm the buff guy CEO walk, you know. And then on top of that, she's trying to lip sync the words to the song, you know, you got no chance. And she just looked like an idiot. The crowd was all booing them from the get-go. So pretty much the reaction I think they wanted to get from the crowd. But yeah, just silliness from those two, like normal.
Yeah, it just looked really, really corny, but they're just trying to get boos, so they're doing their job. But anyways, when they got in the ring, they ran down the possible winners of the Royal Rumble match. They mentioned Ziggler, which is kind of funny because we all know Ziggler doesn't have to have, you know, a chance after he lost to Heath Slater last week. They pretty much buried the heck out of him. Then they mentioned Kevin Owens, saying that if he wins the WWE Royal Rumble, that he would easily have the best first year in the WWE, which I gotta agree with them when they say that. And then they mentioned Brock Lesnar, and then they were interrupted by the Wyatt family. And when the Wyatt family began talking, out came Roman Reigns. He came out to a big pop from that New Orleans, Louisiana crowd. And then pretty much the McMahons and Roman Reigns, they talked back and forth, back and forth. And that's when the McMahons announced that Reigns would compete in a 1 versus all match with a number of opponents to pretty much be a mystery. They kind of teased Roman Reigns, clashed him with his brother, Dean Ambrose. But then Sheamus attacked the Lunatic Fringe, and a match between the two was set up for the opener. But let's not talk about the Sheamus-Ambrose match. Let's go ahead and talk about the segment with Vince, Steph, and Roman. Here's my take on it. Like, it was an average, segment. Like, pretty much it set the tone for the show, pretty much saying, like, okay, tonight at the end, like, you're going to see the McMahons versus Reigns again. It announced a good match. But here's my thing. Like, the WWE, it seems like the past at least 15 or 20 Raws have been opened with an authority segment. Like, I remember back in the day, I'm talking like post-Attitude Era, so right in between like 03 and 07, like they would open up with a match, and I kind of like that because I'm one of the few fans that is like, don't get me wrong, Brian, I absolutely love, people talking on the mic, but I kind of prefer the actual wrestling rather than that. So like, I just want the WWE to open up the show with someone different than the Authority or maybe a match. Brian, how did you feel about all of it?
Yeah, it's pretty much like you can week after week nail how Raw's going to open. You know that you're going to get your dose of authority, whether it's Stephanie McMahon, Vince McMahon, Triple H. You guess they're going to be out there first trying to rile out whoever they're going after, whether it's, Roman Reigns or Dean Ambrose or whoever they're trying to go after at the time. It's always going to start like that. But I do agree with you. I love it back in the day when you'd flip on Raw and like it would start with a match, even if it's bringing up like some of the undercard guys who don't really get that much action or don't really put that much on. Just start a match with them. Have hype that up, let them start, especially when you know that it's going on live. They're seeing the guys and like we come in on it as everything's happening. I used to love when they would do that stuff.
Yeah, you and me both. So like, at the end of the day, like if I was a teacher and I had to give like an analysis on all of it, like pretty much I think it was a very, very generic and uninteresting way to open up the show. I think the only real highlight was the announcing of the main event, the hinting at Brock Lesnar making a big appearance tonight, and pretty much, that announcement of Sheamus and Ambrose. So anyway, speaking of Sheamus Ambrose, that's the match, like I said, that was announced to open up the show. Going into the match, is pretty much, Sheamus attacked Ambrose, so Ambrose wasn't at 100%. They kept on fighting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I thought it was a pretty good match, and it actually had a really crazy ending in my mind. Like, yeah, it was a double count out, but when Sheamus was taking those hits to the ring post, I was kind of surprised because I remember watching it, and not to break kayfabe, but, when you're a wrestler and you're taking a shot at the ring post, you're supposed to put your hand over your forehead, and your hand's supposed to smack the ring post, and then you smack your head against your hand, right? Because that's what protects it. But when Sheamus was doing it, he wasn't even protecting himself. Like, his head was going straight into that ring post. So obviously, when you're smashing your head against, a solid metal ring post, like, your head's going to get busted open. And he got a nice little gash. WWE ended up posting pictures of it, and I think it only took a few stitches, which I was pretty surprised because he was gushing out blood. And I was kind of surprised. I was like, wow, like, look at that. Like, WWE showing blood on a Monday Night Raw show, and not like a pay-per-view or not the main event of Raw. Like, I thought it was pretty cool. And then after the match, you guys all saw that happened. Ambrose pretty much threatened to put Sheamus through the announce table, only to be attacked by Kevin Owens. And then officials ended up, pulling former Intercontinental Champion Kevin Owens away from Dean Ambrose. So, and I gotta say, like, I really like this Dean Ambrose Kevin Owens feud going on. But Brian, let's hear like your analysis on this entire match and like what happened after the match. Like I'm interested. Like, what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, kicks off. Sheamus does the original Sheamus. Sneaks up from behind on Dean as they were all standing at the top of the, waiting for the McMahons to get done. So hits him from behind. The match starts. So yeah, high intensity all throughout the match. I really enjoyed that. And like you said, when they got out there, I mean, they were both just no care for their body. Sheamus with his hands down, busting his head off the pole, and even after he had got knocked open and all the blood was coming down his face, I mean, Dean didn't stop. He was still aggressive, throwing him into the announce table, threw him into the steel ramp again to get into the ring. So, yeah, they were going at it. And then, of course, Dean's getting ready to do some more damage. And then here comes Kevin Owens. And what's turning out to be, like you said, an awesome feud. I like the whole thing going back and forth where Kevin Owens says, I'm going to be the one that drives him, to the insane asylum. And now Dean's like, when he came out of the getting the medical attention, and he's like, Renee, you feel my pulse? Like, I'm still alive, and that's bad news for Kevin Owens. So it's definitely one of the better feuds going on right now.
Yeah, and I want to go ahead and like talk about each superstar. And Brian, you can tell me if you agree or disagree. So first, let's talk about the man that attacked Ambrose. Let's go ahead and talk about Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is on the right track. He's going to be a future huge star for the WWE, and one day I think he will be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion because pretty much he's got it all except the physique. Like I said before, he reminds me of a chubbier CM Punk. So I'm a huge believer in Kevin Owens' future. And then I look at Sheamus. Here's my issue with the booking of Sheamus. I hate how the WWE nowadays has to make every single heel kind of cowardly. Like, here's the thing. Like, the heels that look like Sheamus should be like Brock Lesnar. Like, Sheamus is a big dude. He's like 6'7", 280. That's probably not the exact measurement. So, guys, sorry about that. I'm sure I'll be receiving some DMs with the correct measurements of Sheamus, but I don't have Google in front of me. That's just a prediction. But we can all agree that Sheamus is a big guy. Like, I don't think he needs to resort to having his buddies from the League of Nations help him or anything like that. Like, I think he should be able to win matches, clean, 1, 2, 3. Like, I don't like the booking of a heel because back in the day, Triple H was a heel, and Triple H would just go out there, beat the shit out of someone, and beat him 1, 2, 3. And he had Evolution, but I'm talking about before Evolution and like before he was in the alliance with Vince McMahon, with the McMahons and Stephanie McMahon and all them. Like, I want, a heel ass kicker because I think those like heel ass kickers are so much better. And then about Dean Ambrose. In my mind, Dean Ambrose is the right wrestler in the wrong era. Had Dean Ambrose been in the Attitude Era, his character would be phenomenal. However, you're like, okay, Blake, what can he do right now in this era in order to save him and make him a main eventer? Because it looks like Dean Ambrose is going to be a career mid-carder as a face. I think it's easy. Make him heel. Dean Ambrose, during his entire independent run, he was known as John Moxley. He was a notorious heel and a phenomenal heel. He was a phenomenal heel when he was with the Shield. But, okay, yeah, he's a good face, but in order for him to be a main eventer, you got to turn him heel. I mean, for crying out loud, like, most faces are chiseled guys and, they look like John Cena, they look like Roman Reigns. And then, like, the heel is completely Dean Ambrose. The guy that's a lunatic. He's crazy. He wears a wife beater and jeans to the ring. Like, that's what needs to happen for all of them. So, Brian, about, like, my analysis of, like, all three of those guys, like, do you agree or do you disagree about some of the things I said?
Yeah, I'll run down the list just like you did. Kevin Owens, I agree 100%. He's a future WWE champion. I think, it's only going to get bigger and better for here. Hopefully the WWE uses him right and pushes him, whether it's a late push in 2016 going into 2017 at some point like that, but he definitely needs to be in a race for the championship sometime soon. As far as Sheamus goes, I agree with you 100%. I don't like the Sheamus that they have today. I believe, and podcasters also, I believe that Sheamus came into the WWE somewhere around 2009, middle of 2009. I loved Sheamus when he first came in to the WWE. He was, pretty much as big as he is now, just brute force, but he didn't have You know, he didn't have all those gimmicks. He didn't have anything like that. He was just pure power and was just knocking people on their ass, winning matches. And that's the Sheamus that I like. The one now, like you said, just too much character. You know, too much of a coward most of the time, hiding behind the authority. And, that character needs to go. And then as far as Dean Ambrose, he definitely would have been something in the Attitude Era, because you got to think of like Stone Cold and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool that he's here right now. I think it kind of gives you that flashback of the Attitude Era, that he can kind of pay a tribute to some of that. They don't really use that aspect, though, so they can kind of tweak his character to make him more relatable back to the Attitude Era, and I think that would boost him with the fans even more.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, they're all three great talents, but they, like, Kevin Owens doesn't need any tweaking at all. But, like, Dean Ambrose and Sheamus, like, they just need a little tweaking, and then I think they can reach their full potential absolutely easily. So, the next match, which I'm really not a fan at all of this stupid little feud going in between them. I think it's pointless, and I think that this was the match that Raw people turned off and turned on the National Championship on Monday night. But I wasn't one of those guys. I'm a big-time WWE fan, and I can care less about the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Clemson Tigers. But the next match, like I was saying, was Titus O'Neil versus Stardust. And I think the only really things that we need to talk about this match is the fact that Stardust, with his face paint, paid tribute to... he paid tribute to David Bowie, which I thought that was pretty cool. Then the second thing I think that we need to bring up is, can we just please end this rivalry right now? Like, it's just so stale, and there's not once in a Raw arena or one person at home that is actually intrigued by this rivalry. But anyways, Titus O'Neil ended up defeating Stardust, and then after the match, Stardust angrily attacked Titus O'Neil and beat him down. But I don't think we need to talk about this much, Brian. But Brian, do you agree with me that this needs to end now?
Yeah, I'm not even sure how it got started in the first place. And like you said, every person in the arena is like, when is Stardust ever going to be Titus O'Neil? The David and Goliath thing has been done like so many times, but way better with like Rey Mysterio and the Big Show or something like that. But yeah, it's just time to let that go.
Yeah, and it feels like they've wrestled each other the past 5 or 6 Raws. Like, it's an unoriginal match, and I think Titus O'Neil was like trying to get Cody to come back and all that, but it looks like they've kind of forgot about that. But it just shows that Titus O'Neil is nothing without the injured Darren Young, and then it just shows that Stardust, his character, it's just not working out, and that he needs to become the dashing one again. He needs to become the Cody Rhodes that we all love. But that was I think that was probably the lowest point Monday Night Raw, that match. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about not the highest point of Raw, but one of the highest points of Raw, and that was the highlight reel with the New Day. When they announced this in the beginning of the show, like when they showed the little promo thing before a commercial break, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be entertaining. Because whenever you have Y2J Chris Jericho, and you have, in my mind, one of the most entertaining parts of Monday Night Raw, the New Day, together, it is going to be phenomenal. But pretty much, Chris Jericho, welcomed, them to the highlight reel, and they ended up, starting to argue between both Y2J and the New Day over the Rudy Tooty Booty things, and the Usos ended up interrupting. They still had their slammies, which I thought was weird, because usually, they carry their slammy trees for a week and forget about it, but here we are a few weeks later, and they're still carrying those trophies. And pretty much both the teams went back and forth. Chris Jericho ended up calling Xavier Woods a dumbass, which I thought was really, really funny. And then it set up pretty much the match between both of them, which was the Usos and the New Day. And pretty much it was Kofi King and Big E, and it was at ringside. And then the Usos and Chris Jericho at ringside. But here's the thing I want to talk about. The Usos, when they came out, they were trying to copy the New Day swagger, how they talk and all that. And Brian, I know you're a big Usos guy, but it just sounded corny coming from them. You know what I mean? how the New Day talks is how the New Day talks, and the Usos tried to kind of replicate it, and I thought it was just kind of awkward. But I was reading online, and a lot of people like hated that segment, but I actually loved it. How did you feel about all of it, Brian?
Yeah, I definitely love it. Anytime you get Chris Jericho on the mic, you know it's going to be funny. Mix that in with the New Day, you know it's going to be extremely funny. And then I agree with you. You know, I got my love for the Usos. I love my boys, but they need to stick to their entrance. That's what gets people hyped up when they come out. You know, not all the John on the mic. They need to leave that to Chris Jericho, who's going to be in their corner. But yeah, segment was awesome. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good match. I think Xavier Woods could put Leonardo DiCaprio. They can go toe to toe for Actor of the Year when Y2J broke that trombone over his leg.
Yes, Francesca is that trombone. Yes, as Xavier Woods would say.
Xavier Woods, that was the best crying I think I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and I thought it was. I mean, there's like some really, really good like whiners out there. Like, I watched WWE Countdown, and like the number one crybaby of all time was Batista. Like, I think Xavier Woods gives him a run for the money on that list. Like, if that list were to be redone, I think Xavier Woods may be up there. Like, his acting was absolutely hysterical when Chris Jericho broke his trombone. Like, Xavier Woods is so entertaining, and I think Xavier Woods is slowly but like surely turning into like a manager and a mouthpiece rather than being a wrestler. You know what I mean? Because like the last time he went one-on-one was against John Cena for the United States Open Challenge. Am I right?
That's correct.
That was his last singles match, and I kind of like Xavier Woods as a mouthpiece. I think he's the perfect guy for the New Day. I love Xavier Woods, and rest in peace to Francesca. I'll be sure to keep that trombone definitely in my prayers, man. Like that was a tragic loss. I mean, Chris Jericho murdered him, and it was funny because Xavier Woods like tweeted out like $1 million reward for TJ. Like I thought it was hilarious. Like Xavier Woods is a complete clown. But anyways, the match result, the Usos ended up beating the New Day again. I was okay with the match, and I think it was cool to see Chris Jericho and the New Day go back and forth. Hopefully we see that again and again and again on Raw. Like, unlike the Steel Stardust, like, I hope that Jericho and the New Day keep on going back at it for the next 30 episodes of Raw, for all I care. Like, I absolutely love it. But then, right after that match, the very, very first Hall of Fame induction announcement happened. Now, let me talk about this. This wasn't the first time it was announced. It was actually announced at 1 o'clock on WWE's Instagram page. But BSSN tweeted it out at like 11:30 a.m., so a whole hour and a half before. So that just shows right there that we are completely 100% accurate whenever we tweet out something. So, for example, someone tweeted at me about Paige's injury, and they're like, oh, is she really? And I just confirmed, like, she does indeed have a concussion. And then, like, so guys, like, whatever you read on BSSN's Twitter page, like, whether it's myself tweeting it, whether it's Brian tweeting it, whether it's David or Jeremy, like, it is usually 100% accurate unless our sources are, false reporting it. And if they are, we will be sure to tell you guys that, so you guys know that those people right there are not a reliable source. But anyways, so Sting, he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's pretty much a classy video package of Sting's WCW career. I think it's well served. Like, he's probably the best wrestler in WCW's history because he's a guy that started at WCW day one and then ended on the last day with WCW and ended up not coming to WWE for quite some time. He did TNA over WWE. Like, that's how much he was true to WCW, and we all know he eventually came back. But I think Sting deserves it. There's not a doubt in my mind. Brian, does Sting deserve to be in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm right on board with you. Like, the WCW career, unlike any other, he's the hero of the WCW from the beginning to the very end. I mean, every wrestler that was in WCW, every wrestler pretty much that comes into the business, if you don't know who Sting is, if you haven't modeled anything that you do after Sting, or saw any of his videos, then you shouldn't be a wrestler, because everybody pays homage to Sting and what he's done for not only WCW, but even holding out so long, being in TNA, and then finally making his debut in the WWE, and coming over and bridging that gap and kind of saying, all right, this completes my ultimate career as a wrestler.
Yeah, because big reason on why he became or came to the WWE, like on his documentary, he said, "I always wanted to wrestle at WrestleMania. That was the one thing that Sting didn't do, and he got to do it." And guys, like I said on previous podcasts, I told you guys that Sting's career was over because he injured his neck in the match at Night of Champions against Seth Rollins. I told you guys. You guys tweeted at me saying, "Oh, that's not true. That's not true." Then how come that the WWE inducted him to the Hall of Fame? That is because he is retired. He's 56 years old and suffered that neck injury. So I told you guys that. So, that's kind of my, in your face jerks moment. But I think though that this means that Sting's career is over. Brian, do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And I think Sting knows time. The last thing you want to do is try and push yourself at Sting's age with the career that he has and end up doing some real serious damage. He can walk away from this with his head held high, accomplish everything that he wanted to in his career, and everybody's going to applaud him as he goes into retirement.
Absolutely. And I want to say one thing. All right, okay, I want to say two things. First off, I want to say the joke. Fun fact, and this is actually 110% accurate. Heath Slater has more wins in the WWE than Sting has. Did you know that, Brian?
Oh my God, get out of here.
Yeah, Heath Slater has won more matches in the WWE than Sting has in the WWE. I thought it was pretty funny. I mean, it's just kind of like, poking a jab at the fact that they renamed the WWE the Wrestling Hall of Fame because Sting had a Hall of Fame career in WCW, not WWE. That's just, my 2 cents on it. But a second thing I want to say about Sting's retirement is I'm not, undermining him at all. Like, I want to see him retire. But here's the thing. He's an all-time great in my mind because I don't want anyone saying, like, oh, you don't like Sting? Like, of course I like Sting. I love Sting. Like, WCW days. Like, I even liked him in TNA when he was kind of that Joker, Heath Ledger type of Sting. Like, I really, really enjoyed that. And even when he was in the WWE, I thought it was sweet. But you had a phenomenal career when you are main eventing pay-per-views at the age of 56 years old. Brian, you agree with me on that point?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, a perfect example is look at Ric Flair being the manager of his daughter. I mean, half the time I'm worried if he's going to fall off of the ropes or what the heck's going on. So that's why I say I'm glad that Sting knows when to retire versus it becoming kind of like, a bad show when you're like, oh, why didn't you retire a while ago? Glad he's hanging it up. Like I said, and before it causes any permanent damage to where you would see him in a wheelchair or something like that, because that's not how you want to go out either.
Yeah, and all the great ones, it seems like they know when it's time, and Sting is a great one, and he knows, when it's time. Like Brian said, he knows, okay, if he takes one more bad bump at his age, like he damn near might in a wheelchair. So, I tip my hat off to the man they call Sting, and I'm very, very, very happy for him. And something funny too that I wanted to add. My little brother PJ, he's 7 years old. He's a first grader, and he's just learning like how to, write and read and all that. And I'm watching Raw with him on my lap, and he has up his iPad. And he was just like searching wrestlers, right? He wanted to look at pictures of the wrestlers, right? So like when the show started out with Vince McMahon, he asked me to, type in Vince McMahon's name for him so he could look at pictures of him, right? So Sting, once that thing came out, he's like, ooh, he's scary because, he came out the rafters and he had that face paint on. And he's just like, what's his name? And I said, Sting. And, he knows how to spell Sting, so he spells it out, Sting. And the first picture that pulls up, he's like, huh? That's what Sting looks like without his face paint? And it was a picture like the rock and roll star Sting. Like, I was like, no. Like, that's not the right Sting, PJ. He's just like, yeah, because he's way too small to be a wrestler. I'm like, yeah, I know. So he thought that, like, the rock and roll star Sting was, like, the Sting behind the face paint. I was like, no, PJ, no. That is definitely not the man that they call Sting. So I just wanted to add that in because I thought it was hysterical. But anyways, let's talk about the next segment. And that was, when the Wyatt family, were coming out. They were, actually, so they came out and they were interrupted by the Social Outcasts. So, Heath Slater's new little group, aka the Job Squad 2.0. And it led to an 8-man tag match. And just as the action began to get underway, Ryback's music hit and he hit the ring immediately, right? Looking to get his revenge from the beatdown that he, suffered last week from them. He ended up clearing the ring of Bray and his followers and stood tall, pretty much to like close out the segment. So Ryback got his revenge on the Wyatt family, and it looks like they're going to continue with that Ryback versus the Wyatt family type of feud, which, it's nice. It's not like perfect, it's good just because like these two have never faced each other. They're both mid-Carter guys, but this is really Ryback in the long run. You know what I mean? Like, this is helping make Ryback relevant because ever since he lost that Intercontinental, his career has just taken like a complete nosedive and is just drastically dropped. You have Wyatt, who's starting to rise, but he's been beating up the same guys, and then you get Ryback in there. So and I'll tell you why. It's because it's helping out everyone, and that's what I like about it. So it looks like they're probably going to go at it, at the Royal Rumble. And then they'll probably have a match at Fastlane or maybe even WrestleMania. But I'm okay with it. I wish Bray Wyatt got someone better just because of how tremendous of a talent he is. Like, I think he's easily the most completely wrongly used superstar the WWE has. Like, here's an analogy for you, okay? Bray Wyatt is, in my mind, a great tool, okay? So he's pretty much like a hammer, right? So you got this great hammer in Bray Wyatt, and pretty much what the WWE doing with them, like this is how they're like completely misusing him. They're trying to like dig up a hole with the freaking hammer. Like they're hammering away at it, like, how come this isn't working? Like that's how I see it. Like that's my analogy on it. Like they're just completely misusing him completely. So how do you feel about all this time?
Yeah, I mean it definitely, like you said, the feud held everybody involved, Bray Wyatt and Ryback. I love any time that you can feed the big man some more because I like him in there. I like what he brings to the table. I kind of like his kind of here to stop the bullying kind of thing. I think that a lot of kids look to him. That's why he has a lot of adult fans as well. He has that kind of going for him. And then like you said, they're totally misusing Bray Wyatt. Man, I love him so much. He's such a dark character, something that hasn't been around for a long time, back in the great Undertaker days when he was just creepy as shit. But man, that's Bray Wyatt. He is the new face of fear. That's a perfect name for him. And you can see it when the lights go out, all his followers come on, the fireflies light up, and it's an awesome thing to see when you're at a live event.
Yes, it is.
But they just totally use him and have him in these just weird situations to where he starts stuff and always ends up getting his butt whooped. And it's not what you want to see for Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, and I'm kind of agreeing with you. Like the whole entire with what you said about Ryback, I'm agreeing with the Bray Wyatt thing too. Don't get me wrong, but the whole entire Ryback thing, like he has a perfect character for the PG era. Like what is the PG era known for? It's known for kids. Think about one of the most popular campaigns, that "Don't be a bully, be a star." Well, pretty much that's exactly what Ryback is. He's a superstar, and he's not being a bully. He's taken out the bullies for all of them. So it is a tremendous little thing he's got going on. I'm one of the rare guys, though, that prefers a heel Ryback over a face Ryback. I think, like, if the WWE were, like, redo the heel Ryback nowadays, like, I think it would be the perfect muscle and big man and mercenary for the Authority. You know what I mean? Like, because what's supposed to happen is supposedly, right now Triple H is, like, one of the favorites to win the Royal Rumble. I think if he like ends up winning it, maybe get like Ryback as one of his like henchmen and bodyguards and just have him obliterate anyone that gets in his way. You know what I mean? Like I would like to see that, but Ryback at the end of the day, he's going to be a face. And then I think Bray Wyatt, he will always be a heel. I think with the gimmick. I mean, maybe one day he'll be a face, but I mean overall though, like I said, this feud is good, and why? It's just because it's giving Ryback new life and it's giving Bray Wyatt new blood. Like, that's what I like about it, and it's benefiting both parties. So I tip my hat to the WWE creative team on that one. So pretty much up next, and I honestly think this was the best match of the entire night, and that was the United States Championship match, which was Kalisto versus Alberto Del Rio. So last Thursday on SmackDown, Kalisto upsetted Alberto Del Rio, right? And and that pretty much made him the number one contender. They had their title match on Monday Night Raw. And, Alberto Del Rio was coming out all cocky and conceited. And then like even JBL was saying like, if Kalisto were to beat Alberto Del Rio should be, ashamed of himself, and he should be, disappointed in himself because he's Alberto Del Rio and Kalisto's this little guy that doesn't even deserve to be a wrestler pretty much. So they were really booking him as the underdog. And in the match itself, Alberto Del Rio was dominant. He was looking strong, he was looking electrifying, and like he wasn't letting Kalisto get in any offense, right? But anyways, I didn't see this coming. Like I thought Alberto Del Rio would have been like via shenanigans, like someone would interfere or something like that. But Kalisto ended up rolling him up and scoring the biggest win of his career and pinning the former WWE champion and now the former United States champion Alberto Del Rio 1, 2, 3. I am so happy for Kalisto. Like I'm a guy that usually loves heels, but for some reason I'm just drawn to Kalisto. He reminds me of the Rey Mysterio of this era. Like I don't think he'll ever be the world champ, but he's a perfect guy to be a IC champion or a US champ or a tag team champ. And I'm so excited too because when Sin Cara ended up dislocating his shoulder, I was like, damn it, like that's the end for Kalisto. And it's a shame just because Kalisto is such an amazing talent. But then when he won last night, I was like, thank God they're going places with him. Because if Alberto Del Rio wins that match, I think Kalisto's buried. And I think he's going to become an afterthought. But when Kalisto freaking pinned him 1, 2, 3 and got that U.S. championship belt, I was so happy for the guy. And I think that was completely the right decision. Why? Because Alberto Del Rio doesn't need the U.S. championship. He's a former world champ. He doesn't really need a mid-card belt to keep him relevant. But Kalisto, had he lost that match, like I said, he's irrelevant. But now that he won, that pretty much makes him and grooms him as a future superstar for the WWE. So perfect booking, and it surprised the holy hell out of me. I enjoyed watching the match. So very, very happy that Kalisto is the new U.S. champion. And it's nice seeing new champions be crowned on Raw. A month ago, we got to see Roman Reigns win WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And now we get to see Kalisto win the United States Championship. So they're making Raw very, very entertaining as of late. The ratings, in my mind, they have to be going up. I haven't checked the ratings, but, as of late, Raw has been great. So, Brian, how do you feel about Kalisto and Alberto Del Rio?
Yeah, I mean, I was a huge Lucha Dragon fan, and you never want to see anybody get hurt, but Kalisto and all them, Big E pulls Sin Cara off. He gets his shoulder dislocated. Thank the Lord that they had creative, team put together something for Kalisto. And you gotta put this into effect as well. John Cena getting hurt also played a part into that, because if John Cena doesn't get hurt, I don't think Kalisto gets this shot either.
No, I think Kalisto's going to be, because had John Cena not get hurt, like Kalisto would be wrestling those throwaway 6-man tag matches,
Exactly, yeah, and I think Cena and Alberto Del Rio, there'd be something there, but, John gets hurt. They did the awesome thing having him, go on SmackDown, hype up the crowd, and then, him get in it with Alberto Del Rio, and Alberto be like, no, you're not going to get me to put my belt again, blah, 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 and then to have Kalisto come out and then win that match to set up this. I think it was an awesome job done by them. Excellent way to use Kalisto. I love seeing that guy in the ring. I love the moves that he brings. He's electric. He's kind of like a guy also that I wish they pushed a little harder, because he has amazing moves, and that's Neville.
Yes.
To get reaction, just because, man, they're just so great in the air, and the control and all that you have to use, and the skill, and just being a premium athlete to do all the stuff that they do, especially on the bigger guys,
Yeah, and
it was amazing.
And I love that comparison, the Neville Kalisto comparison. Like pretty much, like you could say that like Kalisto is the Mexican version of Neville, and I like that. I mean, I know it's unlikely because they're both booked faces, but I would love to see a Neville versus Kalisto match for the U.S. Championship. We probably won't see it because both guys, both faces, but like just the thought of that just screams 5-star match. Just completely screams it, because Neville would be doing all those flips, and so would Kalisto, and those guys would be doing amazing things. But I don't know. Maybe one day we can see it. But for now, all we can do is like play it on WWE 2K16 and just, play out the match. That's pretty much all we can do. It's just like a fantasy match. But I would love to see it.
And we have a Kalisto champion, so that's even better.
Yeah, and I'm so excited for Kalisto because Now that makes him relevant, and I just hope he gets a decent title reign. I hope they don't just keep Kalisto as the champ for like a week and then, at the Royal Rumble have Del Rio end up beating him. Like, I hope Kalisto remains champion because he needs that more than Alberto Del Rio needs that. Do you agree?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and it's going to be interesting because I believe coming up on SmackDown, Alberto's his rematch on SmackDown, so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, and we're not gonna, and guys, we're not gonna, even though SmackDown's already been recorded, we're not gonna announce the spoilers or anything like that. Like, we're not gonna announce what happened. BSSN will never, ever, ever do that, so you won't ever have to worry about us spoiling anything like that. So anyways, the next segment, it was Charlotte, and she was supposed to have a match against the beautiful Brie Bella, but plans kind of changed on that one. As you know, Charlotte was coming out to the ring. Out comes the Last Kicker, which I love that nickname, Last Kicker. Becky Lynch, she ends up beating down Charlotte. Ric Flair was pissed after it, and he announced after that his daughter would not be competing, and it was all the fault of the Last Kicker, Becky Lynch. And I gotta say this. I just gotta say this right now. Everybody loves a heel Ric Flair. When Ric Flair is that rich, snobby, pissed off guy, that is when he's at the best. Like, I'm talking about the Ric Flair that is being right now, as he said in one of his WCW promos, which I think this is one of the best quotes ever done by a professional wrestler, where he said, "I'm every man's nightmare and every woman's dream." Like, that Ric Flair, the heel Ric Flair. Everybody loves that Ric Flair. And I gotta say, I love this rivalry being created by Becky Lynch and Charlotte. It's a long story. Like, they both came up with each other. They were members of the Four Horsewomen in NXT. They are always friends. Charlotte gets the championship belt and she develops an ego, and then Charlotte turns heel on her, and like, they're the former friends going at it. So I tip my hat to it. Like, it's very, very good, and like, it's something new and original. Like, we're not seeing a Bella, or we're not seeing Paige involved in a Divas Championship story, which I am 110% okay with that. And then just an update, Nikki Bella, she's hurt. I'm not sure when she's going to return. And Paige, the reason why she hasn't been on Raw is because she's been out with a concussion. So that's the reason why they're not there. But I got to say, Charlotte, is a tremendous heel. Like, she was born to be a heel. It's in her DNA. Like, her dad, Flair, is easily one of the greatest bad guys of all time. And then Becky Lynch, like, she is a perfect babyface, and I think she's going to be a huge babyface in 2016. And I gotta say, the Divas Revolution is working. Why, you might ask that? It's working because I am still excited about women's wrestling. Like, I can't wait to see Charlotte versus Becky Lynch, which most likely will be at the Rumble. So that's my take on all that. Brian, how do you feel about all this?
Yeah, I mean, I love it too. Everybody, like you said, loves a heel Ric Flair, and that's pretty much what he's been his entire career. The dirtiest player in the game. He always finds a way, whether it's a cheap low blow, messing with the referee, dragging somebody's foot on the ropes, which he's done many a times. He always finds a way to get involved and rile up the crowd and everything like that. And having Charlotte go heel, I think it was the perfect time to do it, having that rivalry. They're best friends coming up, and then, they turn against each other, which is better than trying to turn two sisters against each other, in my mind. And then, like you said, right now, it's definitely needed. Sasha Banks sidelined with, her injury that she's dealing with. You got Paige that's out with the concussion. You got Nikki that's out with her neck injury. And you're kind of looking at the Divas division like, what are we going to do here? It's a perfect time to have them feuding back and forth, and some of these superstars can heal up, and you can start to expand the Divas division further. But this is definitely what they need for the Divas division right now to keep all of us tuned in. Like you said, Blake's on the edge of his seat for the Divas. I love seeing the Divas. Me and Blake, even though I don't know if he'll admit it, is both going to be tuned in to the Total Divas when it starts.
Yes,
and,
yes, we will.
It's a Divas Revolution. And like you said, Becky Lynch is the best thing. She's pretty much the girl Ryback. The little girls love her. It gives something for little girl wrestlers to inspire to. She's the ultimate hero. So, yeah, props to Becky Lynch. And like you said, I hope she gets that match with Charlotte.
Yeah, and I really, really hope it's at the Rumble because it's a match I want to see. And, we mentioned all the injuries. And something I want to, talk about before we get on to that main event. was the WWE injury list. I just came up with a list, and these are all the superstars that are injured right now. Okay, Brian, you ready for this? John Cena.
This is gonna be like an NFL injury list here.
Yeah, like this crazy stuff. Like this might take me 60 minutes to get through. Like this is crazy stuff. Like John Cena, he's out with the torn rotator's cuff. Seth Rollins, we all know he's got a bum knee. Nikki Bella, she's battling neck injury. Daniel Bryan, he's still not cleared. Cesaro, Hideo Itami of NXT, Randy Orton, Sting, Tyson Kidd, Sin Cara, Barrett, Paige, and now Sasha Banks, and on top of that, you got Darren Young too. Like, Brian, have you ever, and I mean ever, like, do you ever remember the WWE list being this long and this devastating?
Yeah, I can't remember anybody getting it. The only person I remember getting injured so much is Mick Foley, and you saw him every week anyway.
Yeah, and it's because back in the day, like, these are the only ones that like really recall for me. Like I remember Mick Foley because like that guy would literally try to kill himself every match. But like I remember Triple H tearing out his quad and then blowing out his quad again, I think, in like when he's facing the Spirit Squad. And I remember Shawn Michaels briefly getting hurt when I think it was a kayfabe injury, like when Kane put the chair around his throat and jumped on it. Yeah, that terrified me as a kid. Like I literally thought that Shawn Michaels was gonna die. And a funny story about that. My older sister, Danielle, like, she absolutely loved the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Like, she'd have pictures all over her and all that. And, like, I remember when that happened, like, she was bawling her eyes. Like, she thought Shawn Michaels was going to die. Like, I was like, that's when you know the WWE is, like, kind of doing a job, like, a good job. When they're like, oh, my God, that person's going to die. You know what I mean? So I was just like, holy crap. But anyways, that injury list is awful. But here's something I got to say. Like, I tip my hat to the WWE because they're still putting on good shows without, all their major stars. Like I read something. Every single wrestler that left WrestleMania 31 with championship gold is currently injured. Think about it. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro were the tag champs. The IC champ was Daniel Bryan. He's hurt. The US champ was John Cena. He's hurt. The Divas champion was Nikki Bella. She's hurt. And the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Seth Rollins, he's hurt. And the only one out of all those guys that could actually come back before WrestleMania right now is Cesaro, because I heard that he is working out at the WWE Performance Center and all that, so he might be back. But it's just like, think about how many devastating injuries they've had this year. Like, this has, like, 2015, if it's remembered for one thing, I think it's got to be remembered, unfortunately, by the injuries. Not, Seth Rollins becoming a star, or not, Brock Lesnar and Undertaker going back. I think you got to remember 2015 as the year where everybody got freaking hurt. That's
it's, like you said, injury list is so long, but the awesome thing is, like you said, it's the WWE. They're still putting on good matches. And I heard this the other night. I can't remember what I heard it on, but somebody was saying, oh, what's Vince McMahon going to do, And somebody was like, Vince McMahon, he doesn't sweat. He doesn't sweat it. He knows he's got a game plan. He's going to put it in motion. And, you hope that it works for the best. And right now, they're delivering on all cylinders. It hasn't stopped them. And there's no reason why it's going to stop them moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, if there's one man you in your corner when shit hits the fan, it's Vince McMahon. Because, you give him chicken shit, he'll make a chicken Caesar salad. I don't know how he does it, but, that's just who Vince McMahon always is and always will be. He's the perfect guy to run a wrestling promotion, in my mind. But anyways, I just wanted to talk about that because, it seems like a lot of people have been talking about that. But let's go ahead and talk about the main event, which was the one versus all match when it was Roman Reigns, and I counted when I watched Raw, against 14 WWE superstars. And those 14 superstars were, yes, I wrote it down, guys, Kevin Owens, Sheamus, Tyler Breeze, Alberto Del Rio, Stardust, The Ascension, the Wyatt family, and the New Day. And pretty much it looked as if it was like, it started out as a one-on-one match with Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, which is something I want to see down the road. I want to see them at a pay-per-view, not on Monday Night Raw. They went back and forth, and just when Roman Reigns is catching momentum. That's when all the guys started jumping on. Like Tyler Breeze came in, he got the shit kicked out of him. The Ascension came in, they got the shit kicked out of him. And then the New Day, and all of them, like they ended up starting to, attack. They ended up starting to attack Roman Reigns. And then out comes the Beast Incarnate. And I was like, oh shit, he's going to join them on the beatdown. But no, he ended up beating the heck out of everyone. And I got so excited when Kevin Owens and Brock Lesnar started going at it. I was like, yes. Like, please make this happen one day, WWE. But anyways, only thing he ended up doing was German suplexing him. Just completely dominated everyone. And then Roman Reigns was beat down on the ground, picked up Roman Reigns and F5 the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And it's cool seeing him in the same ring because, like, Roman Reigns has come so far because the last time they were wrestling, like, everyone hated Reigns and everyone wanted to see Brock Lesnar kick his ass. But now people like Roman Reigns. Like, he's come so far away. So that was kind of cool to see him in the ring because I remember I was like, man, the last time is when Seth Rollins cashed in and, like, saved the day. But I was astonished. I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm excited. And pretty much, like, I think WWE pretty much said, like, okay, that means Brock Lesnar is going to be in the Royal Rumble. Like, I know Paul Heyman was saying the winner goes on to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. No. Now they pretty much announced that Brock Lesnar is indeed going to be in the Royal Rumble. So the business is looking hotter than ever. I love that segment completely. I was kind of confused by the one versus all concept. Like, I thought it was just going to be a giant handicap match, but ended up not being that. The only complaint that I have about this is that I wish there was more Brock Lesnar throughout Raw. They didn't just save him for the end. But Brian, how do you feel about all this? How do you feel about the main event of Raw?
Oh yeah, the main event, I think it was good. I think they, like you said, you thought it was just going to be like a huge handicap. I love the way they set it up. I definitely agree with you. I want to see Roman and Kevin Owens down the road at some kind of pay-per-view, and I don't want to see Kevin Owens in the Authority's pocket. I want it to be the heel Kevin Owens on his own, the lone man versus Roman Reigns. I think that'll be really good. But yeah, as you get to it, of course, at some point they had to get to Roman, they had to beat him down, and then the music crashes, Big Brock comes out, and to me it looks like Brock is even bigger than he was before,
which is crazy to think about.
He was looking cut up. His arms were looking huge. They were looking total defined. When he was in the ring, just tossing everybody around, I pretty much was like, I knew he was just going to kick everybody's ass because that's what Brock does. He didn't care who was in the ring. If Blake's in the ring and I was in the ring, we would have went to Suplex City.
Yes, we would have.
Brock Lesnar doesn't give a fuck. You're going to Suplex City, and you just need to stay out of the way. Everybody who got involved in that knew they were going to get. Man, I would be hurting after that. After Brock Lesnar, anything. It's just so powerful, so fierce. And like you said, it gets you pumped up. Everybody wants to see Brock Lesnar. It's huge. They needed him back right now. We're going to flash forward and we're going to get to that Royal Rumble, which I'm excited for to see how that comes out. Because I don't even know. I can't even tell you.
I mean, here's what I can do. I mean, I can try to predict the winner, but it's hard just because it's still, a few weeks away. So, Brian, I'll tell you what. To end the show, we'll talk about a few superstars that you can count on possibly winning it. So, when I think of the Royal Rumble, there's only a few guys that can actually win it, okay? There's the obvious, Roman Reigns retaining. And then there's Brock Lesnar. And then you need to think about this one when I say this, all my listeners out there, Triple H. Why am I saying this? Because Triple H wasn't on Raw again. There's a reason why he's not on there. They're saving it for it to be a surprise at the Royal Rumble. So right now, I think if you're a betting man and you're betting and the gambler's like, okay, you have three choices, you have three picks. Those are your three picks right there. Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Triple H. I guarantee you it won't be anyone else. Some people are like, oh, what about the Bullet Club? Well, actually, the Bullet Club won't exist in the WWE. They will be known as the Balor Club. The WWE has filed a trademark Balor Club, so that's what they're going to be going forward with it. But here's the thing. Having AJ Styles make his WWE debut on the Royal Rumble and win the gold, I think that's highly unlikely. Maybe, you could see them beat down the winner or something like that, but I just don't see it coming. So those are my three picks right there. Brian, do you agree with my three picks, or do you disagree with one of them and want to say, hey, actually there's a fourth guy that could win it?
No, I would go Brock Lesnar for sure. Roman, of course, retaining. Triple H, I agree with you 100%. I think they're saving him to come in. And yeah, I mean, just to move it forward into WrestleMania, I don't think there's anybody else. I think you get some surprises here and there, but nobody, like you said, that I think is gonna actually get the gold. Like you said, it'll be something afterwards that maybe the person that wins the gold rating, maybe they get attacked as a like, we're coming for you in the future type of deal. But yeah, those are the top three to set up into WrestleMania, into some crazy match. Maybe we see a Roman, Brock, Triple H WrestleMania match, triple threat.
Yeah. Because I mean that could be, an interesting angle they can go down, and it'll be crazy to see like what the WWE pulls out. I mean, there's so many options at WrestleMania. I mean, you could do Roman versus Brock. You could do Roman, Brock, Triple H in a three-way triple threat. You could do Kevin Owens, Lesnar. You could do Kevin Owens, Undertaker. Like there's so many. Like, people are saying The Rock might wrestle, so who knows? Maybe it'll just be Rock versus Triple H, or maybe we'll see Rock, Undertaker. I don't know. Like, this year's WrestleMania is going to be featured stars, I think. Undertaker, Rock, Lesnar, Triple H, Reigns. Those are the 5 wrestlers, and I think Owens can be there. So those are the 6 going to be the 6 key guys that are going to be involved in main events. And, like, somehow, some way, like, one of those guys are going to end up facing each other. So I think that'll be an interesting way to go down. At the end of the day, so many people are like, oh, the expectations are so low for WrestleMania. Like, no, WrestleMania is always great. I'm excited about WrestleMania 32, and the road to WrestleMania is starting in like 2 weeks, which I can't even fathom. So I'm very, very excited about it. Even with all the injury-plagued roster, I'm really, really excited about it. And I didn't really touch base with it when Brian said it, but to answer your guys' questions or, your concerns, like, yes, I am very, very excited about the upcoming season of Total Divas. and in the beginning of the show, just to reiterate, the whole entire, like, my cam thing, like, that is 110% accurate. Like, me and Brian are not bullshit you when we say that, Like, this girl really wanted me to be an online stripper. Like, am I right, Brian?
Yeah, she was recruiting for it. It was crazy to watch that whole thing, get displayed on Periscope and how serious she was. It was just crazy.
Yeah, and if you guys want to see, like, crazy stuff like that happens to me all the time. Like, you can ask Brian. Brian's always in there with me on there. Like, crazy stuff like that always goes down. And if you're wondering what Periscope is, pretty much it's an app. Go to your app store, whether it's Google Play or go to App Store. Download Periscope, and then when you got to create an account, you can link it with your Twitter. That's what I did. And then go to the search bar, type in BSSN_sports, and you'll get to see me. Every now and then Brian's on it. Brian scared the shit out of some people when he appeared on there. He's like, I've hijacked the BSN Sports one. And people are like, what? And like, people are like, the giveaway with a beard, which people were taking a shot at my like thing I like to call in air quotes a beard. So I was like, damn. Like, I was watching the replay. I was like, damn. And, and then maybe you'll get to see David or Jeremy or something, or Sean on there. It'll be interesting. You never know who's going to be on there, so it's definitely interesting. And Brian, anything you want to leave the people with?
And as always, we love everybody who follows us. Keep listening. We're definitely just keep on podcasting it up. I'm excited for 24 hours, man. Teddy Long, I can't tell how excited I am for that. I hope you guys will be equally as excited when you hear it. I believe Blake's going to inform you, but, if you got some questions, we'd love to hear what you might like to ask Teddy Long to present it to him and see what he has to say about it. But keep on following us. We're going to keep on trying to do proud. And Blake, what do you have for him?
Just a few things. He touched base with Teddy Long. That podcast will be tomorrow. We'll be interviewing him. And like he said, be sure to DM us anything you want to talk about. And also, I want to thank Brett, Marcus, and Antoine for buying some merch. If you're interested in buying some merchandise, all you got to do, follow me on Twitter, BSSN_sports. We got hats, we got beanies, we got t-shirts, we got hoodies, we got bracelets. And like I said, if your order's over $30, I'll throw a bracelet for free. So get some BSSN merch, and I will negotiate the prices. Like I said, there's no set in stone price. I'm trying to get you some BSSN merch at an affordable price. And also, I will talk about some future guests. Like I said, tomorrow, Teddy Long, that will be on Thursday. We also got the Boogeyman coming up, and we have yet to, unfortunately, confirm a date for that, and have been going back and forth. So, Boogie, if you're listening, man, be sure to hit me up. Also, Jake the Snake Roberts, and that one will probably happen at the end of January, so that one will be exciting. Then, this is news. This guy is not a wrestler. He's never signed under a WWE contract. Never even wrestled a match in his life. But some people might have heard of the t-shirt store called 1 Hour Tees. Pretty much, they're famous for all their t-shirts that they've designed for wrestlers and all that. And they're actually CM Punk's neighbor, too. That's something else they're known for. But I'm proud to announce that a future podcast, I will be interviewing Ryan, who is one of the head printers for 1 Hour Tees. So be sure to check that out. And also, guys, be sure to check out our website, which is bssn.weebly.com. Another thing is, too, I want to thank my audio man, the man that uploads all these videos. His name is Elio. Thanks so much, Elio, for all that you do. Myself and Brian, we appreciate it so much. You helped make BSSN what it is today. And also, Elio is the man that made the sweet intro music to start out this show. I might have forgot someone, but for the most part, I'm pretty sure that is it. So, guys, until next time you'll be hearing me is the interview with Ted Long. So be sure to tune into that one. So, guys, until next time, this is BSSN, the best sports show nationwide. Checking out.